game day.
Welcome everybody to the next episode of Chiefs Focus First and 10 Live. You're here with JP Quinton, and we have the infamous NFL Chiefs Fan of the Year on, Dr. Amy Patel. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, great. You have been you're on a whirlwind right now, I guess.
I'd say so. It's truly a dream come true.
Yeah. So how did all this come about? I mean, I know you're a big Chiefs fan, that's for sure. So.
Yes. So the way it all worked out, and a shocking turn of events, really. So in the summertime, there was a call for nominations for the Lamar Hunt Legacy Honoree. And as everyone knows, that at each home game, they recognize the Lamar Hunt Legacy Honoree, who embodies the spirit, the community impact that Mr. Lamar Hunt did. And so my husband, Joe, actually nominated me in the summer. And we thought, this is like so many people nominate people that do incredible things. We have such a giving Kansas City community. I didn't even think anything of it. Then like about 6 weeks later, I get a phone call from the Chiefs saying that I'm one of the finalists for the Lamar Hunt Legacy Honoree. And then they proceeded to interview me for 30 minutes. I was like completely thrown off. And they interviewed me, and then they said, you'll hear from us in a couple weeks whether you are chosen or not. Okay. So then 2 weeks later, they called me and said that we want to congratulate you. You're one of the Lamar Hunt Legacy honorees we've chosen, and we'd like to recognize you at the home opener. And I thought, wow, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. And then, the 2 weeks, they called me 2 weeks before the home opener, and they wanted me to, they wanted to know where I was tailgating. And they kept changing, they were like, can you move your tailgate to this place, to this place? And I kept moving. I thought, why is he moving so much? And why do they care where I tailgate, But they kept saying, we're going to come and take a picture of you at your tailgate. So I'm like, okay, great. And I thought maybe they'd include that photo on the Jumbotron when the Lamar Hunt Legacy part came up. I had no clue. I was just completely clueless. So we ended up having to tailgate at a private lot behind the stadium where the players park, and they set that up. I was like, this is fancy, and I've never been back here. So we tailgated there, and then all of a sudden I see Commissioner Roger Goodell and Clark Hunt are walking in the parking lot. And I thought they were going to see some people behind me. I mean, they looked fancier than our tailgating group, and I'm like, this is crazy. And then there's some Chief staff standing next to me, and they're like, get ready. They're coming to talk to you. I'm like, oh my gosh, because we had Jack Stack barbecue and, like wiping down my hand because I don't want to shake their hands. Important people. And so I met them and regained my composure. And they congratulated me on being the Lamar Hunt Legacy honoree. And then they said, we have another surprise for you. And then Clark Hunt pulled out of this bag a jersey that said Fan of the Year. And he said, and the number's 22. And he said that in addition to being the Lamar Hunt Legacy honoree, you have been chosen as the Chiefs 2022 Fan of the Year. And you'll be competing against the other Fan of the Year of the 31 teams that they've chosen as their Fan of the Year for NFL Fan of the Year. And then they said, we have another surprise for you. I was like, this is crazy. It's like I'm on the Oprah show. It's like, you get it, you get it. That's how I felt. And then he said, and they announced the winner at the Super Bowl, and you're going to the Super Bowl. I was like, what? So it just kept building, and my head was like, exploding. It just couldn't believe it. And so I get to, take my husband. They thanked me, both of them, for the work I do in the community when it comes to breast cancer care and bridging the gap to breast care disparities. And our part of the country even is very disparate. There's a lot of work to do. And Mr. Hunt was very just very gracious and just very humble. And Commissioner Goodell shared, that his mother had passed from breast cancer, and that was very near and dear to his heart, that cause. So the whole experience was a complete unexpected surprise. I just was so grateful, and to be recognized for my love of the Chiefs, the love of what I do as a breast radiologist, and then the mission I'm on. Words can't express what that day meant to me.
I imagine. I can just only imagine. I mean, it's amazing what you do in the community. That's something that I think people have, they don't realize a lot of times. This is just not a random pick because you're a Chiefs fan. I mean, it's what you do in the community, and that's huge. We just had Frank Clark on a few days ago, and he was doing something that he's never really done. I mean, he's done it, but he's never had a foundation to do that. And he was very proud of the fact that he was able to get that out there and do the things. And we're proud of what you do. I mean, that's amazing. I know Quentin's got a couple of questions for you. What do you got, buddy?
Well, I know that, you've got to have some pretty cool memorabilia. And I just wanted to know, what's your favorite piece, when people come over or you're talking about, what you got in the household, what's like that one item that you're like, this is cool, this is what I have?
Okay. Well, there's actually two that I really like. So one is when the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. Since I'm very fortunate to be a season ticket holder, we could purchase sort of a Super Bowl ring replica from the same company that made the teams. I mean, definitely didn't have like the real diamonds and bling, but a replica of them. And I ordered one of those, and it has my name on it, my last name, and to me that's like so cool. But I'm kind of kicking it old school. I have a Chiefs hat, old school Chiefs hat signed by Marcus Allen, and I just really like the hat. It just reminds me of the era of the even more highs and lows, and the Marty years. There's a lot of highs and lows, very times. So, and it helps me reflect on where we were and then how far we've come, and we live in such an exciting era of the Chiefs and the success they've had and this dynasty we've built. It's pretty amazing to see the evolution of the Chiefs over the years.
Oh, yeah, I think that's something that I try and do on the show, and it's like, like Patrick Mahomes is great, and I don't think we should ever overlook that Patrick Mahomes is great. He comes and he drops his shoulder and makes these great throws, and it's like, you need to continue to be excited about that. We can't sit back and just like, oh, Patrick Mahomes is just doing Patrick Mahomes things. It's like we need to make sure that we stay excited about these things because we're the luckiest franchise in the game right now.
We are so lucky, and what he does on the field is truly magical. I mean, that's why he has his hashtag Mahomes Magic. I mean, it's truly magical what he does on the field. No other player can do it. I mean, we're witnessing a Michael Jordan of our era in the NFL, and he's our quarterback. I mean, we are so lucky. So I do think that a lot of us fans, we don't take it for granted. We know that we're very fortunate. And it's just been so fun to watch him. And on and off the field, he's a great leader, does great things for his community, as does his wife. They're just a great family, and Kansas City is really blessed to have them.
Oh, definitely. I mean, he does things with the football that I don't think anybody has ever thought could be done. When you can throw a slider with a football, or you can throw a curveball with a football. I mean, I'm an ex-pitcher, so... and I'm left-handed, so I don't know how he does it right-handed. I have no clue. It was hard enough for me to do it left-handed, so with a baseball. But he really knew what he was doing, or knows what he's doing. He got a lot of influence from his dad as well, a lot of his mother. But he just he embodies what someone shouldn't be able to do with a football. I guess I should put it that way.
Yes.
It's pretty amazing. But going back to the '90s, you don't look old enough that you were really around in the '90s, so.
Thank you. I'm lucky to be aging fairly well, knock on wood, but I'm older than maybe you think. So.
Well, I know I lived those years, and I spent a lot of time with Marty and a lot of time with that team, and I got to tell you, I loved it. I loved every minute of it, and the highs and the lows and the depressing '93 AFC Championship game.
Years, for better or for worse.
Yeah, Elvis Gerback. I mean, there was times that I just wanted to walk out and smack him a couple of times. There was just times I could not understand the whole situation. But
We haven't even got to the Bono years yet.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
she, it was just a rough. It was great, the first half of the '90s, and then it kind of just went a little bit, and you just had those moments where you pulled your hair out half the time. But is what
So,
it
I
is.
mean, the Chiefs organization's done a spectacular job. Brett Veach is an incredible mastermind. I mean, we talk about how fortunate we are to have Mahomes. What about Brett Veach? I mean, he is
Exactly.
the hidden gem behind the scenes. He had that intelligent prowess to say, we need to draft Mahomes. I mean, he's incredible. So, I mean, all hail to Brett Veach, because he has just built such a spectacular team.
He really
Yeah,
has.
the
And what he took over was, in its own right, very difficult to do.
Oh,
And there were 7 other guys that said, "Yeah, I don't want this job." They didn't want the cap hell. They didn't want any of it. Everybody was ready to retire. They had 2 guys that were taking up half our cap space for one season, and he scared a lot of people. I mean, he came in and he basically launched everybody they thought we needed, and he took us to the AFC. He brought the people in to take us to the AFC Championship game first year. It's
I
very
know.
amazing that he did what he's done in this short
Amazing.
period of
And he's
time.
so young. He's so young. So I'm just so impressed. It's just been so incredible to see. And he's definitely an incredible mastermind that I hope we always have working with the Chiefs.
Yeah,
the
definitely.
sort of like going on joke or the hashtag we have on the show is "In Veach We Trust,"
And
because no matter what move he makes, like the Kadarius Toney trade, we were like, third round pick, you don't want to see it go, but then you're like, but hold on, Brett Veach has got to know something that we don't, and look what's happened already.
with the injuries, and now, oh my gosh, and he's already been so explosive on the field. He's maybe Brett Beach is clairvoyant, like he sees what we don't see.
Well, he wanted him in the draft. He did want him in the draft, and then he tried to get him last year, and it didn't work out. So
I said that Tony reminds me of Dante Hall.
Yes, I would agree with that. He's just so explosive on the field, and I have a couple friends of mine and a couple of radiology colleagues of mine who are huge Giants fans, and they're like, you know what? They even conceded. They're like, he's a better fit in Kansas City. So there you got Giants fans saying that Tony is a better fit with us.
yeah, definitely. It's funny you say that because we have preached on this show, and I've said it for 30 years. You can go out and draft whoever you want. It doesn't really matter. But if they don't fit within the system, what good are they for you? And we see this time and time again. A lot of times people draft players so other people can't get them. That God forbid they want the Chiefs to get any better. That's just something they don't want. But then, Veach has this weird way of, it's a 360 thing. It's a full circle. He always gets that player at some point within the next 2 years. He has that player on his team. And
Incredible.
look what he's done. I mean, he scored his first NFL touchdown with the Chiefs 2 games in. Who would have ever thought that with our playbook? It just,
I know. It's completely mind blowing.
Yeah. So it's going to be fun to watch the rest of the season and seasons moving forward. As long as we got Veach, Andy, and Mahomes, we're in pretty good shape. And I think whoever Andy hands it over to is going to be doing pretty well too. Because Andy's going to when he retires, he retires. So I think that playbook is going to be handed over. Well, maybe trucked over, as big as it is. But so tell everybody what you do in the community, because you do a lot. I know that.
Sure. Yeah. So I am a Missourian through and through. I was born and raised in Chillicothe, Missouri. So I come from rural Northwest Missouri, where I just love the Chiefs since I was a kid, as long as I can remember. And then I went to University of Missouri, Kansas City School of Medicine for medical school. And I did my radiology residency at University of Kansas in Wichita. I did a breast radiology fellowship where I did it 1 year of focusing just on breast cancer and breast disease at Washington University in St. Louis. And then, I ended up going out to Boston to practice. And I was on faculty at Harvard University, where I was a breast imaging specialist. But there was just, such a lack of expert subspecialized breast care, not just in the Kansas City metro, but in this sort of Midwest region, specifically Northwest Missouri, Southern Iowa, parts of the country where it was really lacking. So I felt a lot of guilt, and I felt like I needed to come back to try to make an impact. I was in a position that I could go back home to try to do it. So in 2018, an awesome opportunity came around, and I became the medical director of the breast center here in Liberty, Missouri, at Liberty Hospital. And I'm an assistant professor of radiology at the University of Missouri, Kansas City School of Medicine. So we've been able to make really great strides, not just in the metro, but in this part of the country since I started 4 years ago. We brought on more on our team. We have a brand new breast center to accommodate all these patients. We're working with patients that are underinsured, uninsured, to make sure that they have the care they need. So I'm not only serving in this capacity of my hospital system, but also with state groups, Missouri Breast Cancer Consortium, with those across the state lines in Kansas, as we're really all trying to work together to improve breast cancer care and access. So, you know, a lot of people don't realize, but Missouri has one of the highest breast cancer death rates for particularly Black and Hispanic women in the country. We're above, you know, national averages for breast cancer deaths, particularly in Black women. So we have a lot of work to do, specifically in this corridor where I practice. So, you know, I'm just fortunate to be in this position, and also I'm taking over as chair of the American Cancer Society Kansas City Board or Chairman Circle in January, which will help in terms of sort of expanding my outreach and our outreach to help cancer patients. So with all the hats that I wear, I'm hopeful we can move the needle forward when it comes to cancer care and access. I do feel like we've made some great strides, but I feel like there's a lot of work left, and hopefully we'll get there. I think it takes a village. We have a lot of people who want to get involved and be a part of the movement. So I'm really excited, and to be able to serve Chiefs Kingdom. I mean, you know, so many of our patients are huge Chiefs fans. You know, you rarely get another NFL fan. It's so cool. I get to serve the kingdom too. So I'm trying to serve the kingdom, protect the kingdom, and save more lives, honestly.
That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. You know, you don't. There's a lot of people that you don't hear a lot about that do great things, and that's something that should be noticed more. It should be more out there in the world, and I'm glad you won, so people know who you are and what you're doing. I mean, that's amazing. What do you got, Quentin? I know you got something.
Well, it's sort of to talk about the work that you're doing. Can you just go further and talk about the importance of pre-cancer screening, and just give some more details on that, so anybody that's listening, maybe if they're uncomfortable with it or they don't know everything. So can you just talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Well, already, you know, COVID's really ravaged healthcare, as many of you know, and specifically when it comes to screenings, whether it's a screening mammogram, whether it's a colonoscopy, whether it's a lung CT, when we're looking, you know, if you're a smoker and you should be getting a CT for lung cancer screening, screenings are still down. And specifically in my world of breast radiology and cancer, we're only at 85% of where we need to be with those who are going to get the routine screening mammograms. About 15% still are not coming in to have that mammogram. And we know that if we can find a breast cancer when it is 1 centimeter in size or less, your survival probability is 100%. I mean, you are going to live. You just have to treat it. But once you find a breast cancer that is 5 centimeters and above, your survival probability plummets. So that's why we stress early detection. We know that, you know, from the ages of 40 to 49, in fact, 1 out of 6 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer. And of all women in their lifetime, 1 out of 8. So, you know, and this specifically hits other communities harder, those who don't have access, who don't have insurance or financial difficulties, women of color. I mean, those are the ones that really we tend to see more aggressive cancers in. So, you know, that's why, you know, if you have been putting that mammogram off, it's so important to get in. And also go to a breast center where they have experience of doing a lot of mammograms. And because if you go to a center where they have a higher volume, they're going to be the experts at making sure they make your experience as comfortable as possible. You have technologists that know what they're doing. You have breast radiologists who know what they're doing, so that we can mitigate the discomfort as much as possible. So, for our world, we stress the importance of early detection. I hope anyone's listening out there and you've delayed the mammogram, or you're feeling a symptom, whether it's lump or pain or something, please get it checked out, because we could save your life.
Yeah, definitely. I wish you were out here. I moved here in 13, and they have ranked this state and mainly this city. I think it's fourth in the country as far, or dead last, I should say, in the country as far as healthcare is concerned. And I witnessed it firsthand here recently, and I got to tell you, it definitely needs more people like you. People don't want to. I don't know what it is. They don't. People out here, they don't. They want the good healthcare, but yet it's so much of a monopoly, especially in the city, that they can kind of do what they want. They take advantage of insurance companies. If you don't have insurance, they basically throw you out sick, and they don't really check everything that needs to be checked, or you're misdiagnosed. I mean, that's been the biggest complaint, from what I've heard, out of everything that I've just recently dealt with on a personal level with the healthcare here, is that most people are either misdiagnosed or not diagnosed at all, or they're just kind of thrown to the curb. And it's and if you have great insurance, then they're going to diagnose things that you really don't have, and it's sad, but that's what they have turned into here. It's something to be proud of, that you're able to do what you do on a daily basis and enjoy what you do. I mean, if you like they say, if you go to work and you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. So I think that's awesome that you're just doing everything you're doing to get the word out and also get help people. It's just great. Let's get to the Chiefs just a little bit, because you're a big Chiefs fan, and I got a couple of questions for you. What are your predictions right now for the rest of the season with the Chiefs?
Okay. Well, I think they're going to the Super Bowl. I mean, that's my prediction. I'm going to call it right there. I think the momentum is in our favor. I feel like, specifically last Sunday, if that was any indication, I mean, I feel like all the stars just started aligning for us. I think that we just need to stay the course. I know that there's other teams that are, thinking about home field advantage. Specifically, I'm seeing the Dolphins out there, which, like the knife in the chest with, Tyreek. But I feel like that we can maintain home field advantage. I feel confident we're going to make it to the Super Bowl. I know we have injuries right now, but we've got weapons like Tony. We have so many weapons Mahomes can throw to this year. It's out of control. Like, it blows my mind how many people he can throw to. It's amazing, or hand the ball off to. So that is my prediction going forward. Like I was very fortunate, honored to be on Sports 810 Radio the other day. Like I said on that show, just gotta, clean up special teams just a little bit. But I do feel confident we're going to make it.
Yeah, I agree with you. People don't realize how genius that Tyreek move was. And don't get me wrong, I love Tyreek Hill. I mean, I think he's, probably he is the most dangerous wide receiver in football. There's no doubt about it. But when you can bring in 4 other guys that will replace his production and then throw every other defense off, it's kind of amazing what they've done. It took them a little time to gel, and they still came out with a winning. Nobody expected. In fact, if you listen to all the national media and some of the local media, they didn't expect them to make it to the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And then where are they at? Number 1 in the AFC. Mm-hmm. They went through a lot of playoff games and won. They held the Bills to 24 points, which was amazing at that time, given the fact that they were scoring 35, 36 on everybody, and if not more. I can't see them slowing down right now unless, God forbid, that there's some kind of a, injury that really puts us backwards. But even with that, with the depth that we have, Look who stepped up so far. We never had that depth before, and we talk about this all the time. That teams struggle when they don't have depth, and when you lose a couple of guys that you rely on, you have nobody else to go to. And we went through that for years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I remember those days that God, you sit there and struggle and go, okay, well, this guy's out, so what do we do now? We actually went through it with the offensive line in 2020. We had third string guys in the Super Bowl that couldn't, block anyone, and didn't. It wasn't the fact that maybe they weren't talented; they just didn't have the experience, and it showed. And now Veach has made sure that is covered for sure. He didn't want that to happen again. But to get 5 picks out of a player and turn everything into what he's turned it into. I mean, we got 3 rookies in the backfield. We've got that are killing it right now. McDuffie has 2 or 3 passes allowed on him this year. He's not allowed any more than 3 passes this year. So that's amazing.
Amazing. Yeah.
Going up against, he goes up against. Watson, another one, game winner. Just is what it is, Who he? I'm sure that was pretty surprising to him to get a 99-yard return. It just, nobody would have expected it.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in his second game.
Yeah, his second game of the of his career, and he just does what he does.
And offensively, Pacheco, he's freaking awesome to watch. I love watching him. He's another just explosive one on the field. It's just incredible, some of these players we have this year.
Yeah. I tell you, if he gets his technique down a little bit more, he is going to be a force in this league.
Mm-hmm.
He just needs a little bit more technique. The bull rushing he was able to do in college, that's okay, because you were able to do that in college, but it's a different animal, in the NFL. You're playing against a lot stronger guys that they'll double team you, and they can't, you can't push through them, so you got to have that technique to get around them. That Frank Clark, let me put it this way, the Derek Thomas, the Frank Clarks, guys like that really solidified the fact that you don't have to be the strongest. You got to be the fastest off the ball with the most technique.
Mm-hmm.
And I think once he gets it, he's going to be dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Nick Bolton has turned out to be an animal. I don't know what you think of Nick, but my gosh.
Love him. I'm a University of Missouri girl. I love Mizzou, and I love UMKC, obviously, and we're as fans, we're just excited to see him succeed. We're just really happy for him.
Yeah.
Who was your favorite offense and defensive player excluding Mahomes? I'm going to take the easy answer away from you.
Oh man, now you're quizzing me. All right.
Didn't expect to get it quizzed, huh?
Yeah.
You're a doctor. You should expect to get questions all the time.
All the time. You would be surprised the questions I get sometimes. I would say, oh man, this is challenging. I would say that, this is tough because Mahomes. So can I say Kelsey for offense?
Yeah, sure.
Mahomes. I've had this question before, on a different interview about tight ends, and Tony Gonzalez, he was amazing, but I just feel like Travis Kelsey inches out, and I do feel in my heart, maybe this is just me being delusional, but I do feel in my heart that Kelsey will stay with us throughout his career. I don't think he will jump ship, and I get why Tony G did it. I get it, but I still think that, not just his incredible prowess as a tight end, and but just I think the overall, Kelsey's just so beloved in the community too. So he would be my pick. I would say from an offensive standpoint, and from a defensive standpoint. Oh, this is tough. There's so many incredible people. I really like Chris Jones. I think that he's been incredible for us. But also, Derek Thomas also is somebody that you think about. So it's hard to narrow this down. I can't pick one in general, but they have so many great players. But those are some of those that come to mind.
Well, you just you hit a little spike in my heart, because Derek and I were really good friends for many years, and in fact, his son was on the show not too long ago.
Wow. wow.
Yeah, and we had a long
Amazing.
conversation about, things that he remembered that, that we did. And, we spent a lot of time together. And at his house, I live 4 doors from him. So, I mean, it was kind of hard not to, and we didn't even know it at the time when we
Wow.
met. We had no clue when we met. We met at Arrowhead, but we had no clue that we were neighbors until he said it. And it was kind of strange because it's comical. I was sitting in the locker room with these guys, and there used to be this big table in the middle, and I had just met him. Just came out of a bad injury with baseball, and I was pretty depressed, I guess I should say. And J.J. Burden and Derek and everybody was there at the time, and I looked, they were telling me, certain things, and J.J. really kind of spiked something with me, but, I mean, not in a bad way, in a good way. But I looked over at Derek, and I said, not for nothing, but I got a crazy fan in my neighborhood of yours. And he said, what do you mean? I said, well, every year at Christmas, he puts the number 58 on his roof. And he looked at me kind of strange. He goes, where do you live? And I told him. And he says, what's your address? And I told him. And he says, fool, that's me. And I said, what? And he says, yeah. I said, you put your own number on your roof at Christmas? And lights? And he says, yeah. I said, well, wouldn't you think that would bring out all the crazy fans to your house? And he goes, well, you thought I was a crazy fan, didn't you? I said, I didn't think about it like that. Yeah, you're right. And we just became friends and stayed friends, and I talked to him the morning he passed away. But I was actually supposed to go down there the day before, and ended up, it was this weird situation. But yeah, he, when I had his son on, we talked about all the crazy things he did when he was a little kid. And I brought up things he remembered, and he brought up things I remembered. So it was great to have him on. And Derek that's when I say you got to have technique and speed with your feet off the ball. He was the one that said that every day. And he instilled that in my head because I asked him one time, I said, as great as you are, don't you think maybe you should work out a little bit more? Because everybody used to call him lazy. He didn't like to work out. And he said, why, do you think I need to? And I went, no, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, do you think it would help? And he goes, no, it would actually hurt me. I said, why? And he says, well, when I was at Alabama, I tried the working out 4 or 5 days a week and putting all this stress on my body and going through it. And then on Saturdays, I was stiff and I couldn't play. I didn't play up to my standards. He said, so I noticed that when I was so stiff, I didn't have the movement. But when I slowed that down and I worked out a couple days a week and I didn't do this strenuous, hardcore lifting and everything that everybody wants to do or they think they need to do to be in the NFL, it changed my game even for the better. And I said, wow. And the one thing he used to say to me all the time, you don't have to be the strongest, you don't have to be the biggest, you have to be the fastest off the ball, and you have to have the best technique. And that's the one thing that he had that I can honestly say there was nobody that had his technique. He was the guy, we would be sitting in his house, and he would do these crazy hand movements to grab a drink off the table. And I said, what are you doing? I'm working on my technique. He would do it going to the fridge. And he watched Bruce Lee movies all the time.
Wow.
Because he believed that's what made him better. And it did. It made him better. It was amazing to see someone play at field level like the way he played. So, hands down, he's my favorite defensive player ever. But, of course, I got a little bias there. But I like the fact that you brought up Tony Gonzalez and leaving Kansas City. I do like that.
I don't
I'm
mean
glad
to
you said it.
hate or anything. No, I don't mean to hate on him.
There's no hate.
Tony Gonzalez, but he did leave us, and he went to the Falcons. It's I don't know. So I just don't think Kelsey's going to do that to us. But,
well, there was some bitterness there on both sides, and a lot of it, it was rough for him to make that move. But again, if everybody knew the backstory behind it, there would be you'd understand why he left. I don't hate on the guy at all. I think he was, one of the greatest that ever played the game in the tight end position. I do agree with you that if he would have stayed with us, who knows what we'd have done. in the next 5 years. I think he would have been that factor that may have pushed us over, at one point. But he made that move, and look, he was, I still think Kelsey is probably, if he stays healthy, finishes out his career, which he will finish out his career in Kansas City. He's not going to go anywhere. I think he might surpass Tony in every aspect. I think the hardest thing is going to be for him is the touchdowns.
The catches, or the touchdowns. The catches up there though too, just because of how many he had back to back. I think he's already got him in the yards, but if ifs and buts or candies and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas.
That's true. That's true. I with as wide open as our offense is now, I mean, he's still getting 100-yard games, but which is phenomenal in its own right, that a tight end, 6 straight years with 1,000-yard seasons,
Yeah, and he's going to hit it again this year.
And he's going to hit it again this year, even with the spread offense that we have. 4 touchdowns in a game, at 32 years old, 170-yard games, and that's pretty amazing,
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah, and the fact that Gonzalez had everybody.
I mean, on the field, the beating he takes game in and game out, and for him to be able to produce like that, I mean, it's just, at his age, it's incredible.
It is. It really is. And Gonzalez, he was the main target. I mean, when you really think about those days, we didn't have a whole lot of targets, especially big ones. And we did in the early days, but they just didn't use them a lot. But I think, when you're a guy that the ball's going to come to you the majority of the time, it's a little bit different because you don't really have a group around you and a quarterback that can do the things that Mahomes does with the ball. So Kelsey has a wiggle, and I've called it this forever, but he has a wiggle that I've never seen out of somebody his size. It's crazy. He runs like an insanely thin wide receiver. And he's not. I mean, he's a big guy, but he just has amazing moves and cuts, and he really throws defenders off. There's this little wiggle he does, and I watch it every time he gets the ball in his hand, and he just makes this little wiggle move, and he throws everybody off. And I think he's going to go down. I think he's going to end up surpassing Gonzalez. So I hope he can do it in touchdowns. I mean, that's hard to do, 110 touchdowns, especially in our offense now. It's really difficult to do. But he's still probably going to get 10 this year, if not more. So I don't know. It's pretty insane to see. But I would have to agree with you on the offensively, yeah, Gonzalez is, Kelsey right now is probably my favorite. Other than Mahomes, of course, if you had to take.
Well, that's why I got to take out Mahomes, because that's everybody, and it should be your favorite player. The guy's taking us over the hump, and he's the reason we've been to 4 and probably 5 straight AFC championship games. It's as simple as that. Alex Smith was a good quarterback here. He was able to take us out of the rut we were in. He won our first away playoff game and our first home playoff game, and Alex Smith helped turn this franchise around, because before we got here, we were dealing with the Brody Croyles and Matt Castles of the world. It was not great, but sometimes you got to realize that the grass is greener on the other side. And It was a hard departure because Alex Smith was such a great guy, not only on the team but in the community. But in the end, it is a business, and Patrick Mahomes has elevated this team.
He's elevated
the league. Alex Smith he's been such a great mentor to Mahomes. I think that's incredible, because we have seen examples, I think, in the NFL of quarterbacks coming out and saying that that's not my place to be a mentor. But I do feel like Alex Smith truly was a great mentor to Mahomes, and their dynamic and the respect they have for one another. And I think in turn has made Mahomes has contributed to his absolute success. I think that Alex Smith did play a role in that.
Oh, without fail. You don't see quarterbacks. They never. Well, there's a lot of Joe Flaccos in the world. I'll put it that way. When it comes to the sports, they don't want to. They definitely do not want to mentor someone that's going to take their job. And when they know that person's coming in to take their job, they're usually pretty rude. I witnessed it a lot back in the day. But Alex embraced it, and he thought, I'm going to teach him everything I know, whether it's is going to help him or not. I'm gonna get it instilled in him how to be a professional and how to do it the right way, and he did. And by the way, Reset, he's actually in France. He's one of our fans in France. He's a loyal follower. He wanted to say hi to you. He's up on the chat. I don't know if you can see the chat or not. And yeah, he's right. Kelsey has 8 TDs already, so that's pretty amazing. I mean, yeah. So I mean, I think we're in the defense is this year, and I want to ask you about this. What do you think about the difference in the defense this year compared to even last year, the year before?
Oh my gosh! I mean, it's always felt like with the Chiefs, to me anyway, that like some years like our offense has together, but then our defense is terrible, or our defense has together, but then our offense is terrible. And finally, I feel like we're at a point where we're really starting to gel and mesh on both sides. So I feel like, even compared to last year, the year before, we've definitely made some moves as we've talked about. We've unfortunately had to get rid of some that weren't as effective. I just think it's just a complete 180-degree game changer for us. And it shows. I mean, at these games, the defense is just stepping up at times where we really need them to step up, and have been the great equalizer for many games. So I am just so excited to see our defense finally getting to where they need to be.
Yeah, I agree. There was a lot of complaints about the run D, at the beginning of the season, and even through the Titans game for that matter.
Yeah.
But we're ranked 5th in run defense. I'm not complaining. This is the fastest, and we've talked about this, in Spags' career as a DC. This is the fastest any defense has ever taken off. He's usually a week 7, week 8 guy. He has a lot of packages he puts in, a lot of schemes, and it takes even veterans a long time to learn. But he's got rookies out there and first-year starters that are taking this with stride. And then they find, like Saunders, that steps in and should have been playing a long time ago. I'm sorry, but he should have been. He's filled that role right there in that one spot, that weak link in the chain type of situation that you see a lot, And we've seen it on the offensive side of the ball too I'm not a big fan of Wiley. I think he has a lot of work to do as far as becoming great. And then when you got somebody like Prince that steps in and just completely tightens that chain up, and the offensive line just steps up and plays so much better, that's when you know that the team's in the right trajectory, because they're finding the right players to fill those 1 and 2 little spots that we're missing to close the gaps. And that's what they've done. I'm blown away at the rookies. I think more than anything, I am more blown away how strong these rookies are and how quickly they've adapted to the NFL. That, to me, is kudos to Brett Veach for finding them, but amazing coaching to be able to get these guys ready for the NFL so quickly that you got guys like McDuffie, that don't allow, up until last week hadn't allowed anything.
Well, and in college, his last 2 years at college, he didn't allow a touchdown.
Yeah. And his penalties are
and he went, and he was taken 21st overall.
It's amazing to me.
I've got one more question for you.
Right.
And I thought this last one I was thinking about, what question should I ask? I could ask you about your favorite memory at Arrowhead, but I think I'm going to go with something a little offbeat here. Somebody who's been to a lot of games, somebody who tailgates. What's your go-to barbecue meal? That's the question Kansas City fans need to know.
Oh man, they're like then the other barbecue joints are going to come after me and they're like, why didn't you say us? You're putting me on the spot here, but oh man. Okay, so I love all of Kansas City barbecue. I do. I think we are so fortunate. I go to American Royal. I love KC barbecue is where it's at. But I will say that for specifically tailgates, we do tend to lean towards Jack Stack. Again, Joe's KC, Gates. Q39. I love them all, but Jack Stack is where it's at specifically for tailgating. We'll go, pick it up, ready to go for the tailgate. It's so good. I love it. So I would say Jack Stack out of all of them, even though, I think Joe's KC Q39 very close second and third, but Jack Stack is who I'm going with.
The benefit here is there's no wrong answer.
There really isn't.
There's no wrong answer.
I don't want to be disloyal to the other one. They're all so wonderful. And my husband and I are like huge carnivores. So we'll go to Jack Stack for dinner and they'll be like, hey, let's switch it up and go to Joe's. I mean, we're always hitting up all the spots. But specifically for tailgates, we like Jack Stack.
That's good. Yeah. I was always a Gates guy. I grew up on it. I lived really close to it. So I don't know. When I was a little kid, I would save my money and walk the mile just to go get Gates.
Wow.
I loved it, and I grew up close to the original one. So I just, I don't know. I've always been a Gates guy. Kansas City is just famous for barbecue, and then you hear guys, Memphis saying, "Oh, well, Memphis barbecue's better."
No, as somebody who has been to Tennessee, who has been to Nashville, it's not the same. It's not good. It's not good. Don't you dare tell me that you got good baked beans in Tennessee. Stop it.
It's just not going to happen.
All right, corn bake, whatever. That's Kansas City.
It is without fail. I mean, when you've got I have never heard a U.S. president say, "Yeah, I'm going to go down to Memphis to get some barbecue." You don't have pictures on almost every wall in the barbecue joints of Memphis of a president being there. But you do in Kansas City. I mean, you can go to Gates, Arthur Bryant's. It doesn't matter where you go. There was presidents that went to Kansas City or came to Kansas City just to eat barbecue.
It's delicious.
They would make up reasons to have to come to Kansas City, just to be able to eat, at the barbecue places. So all these other places, when you hear about Texas and Memphis and all these other...
You can't compare Texas barbecue to Kansas City because Texas is the dry rub and Kansas City is the sauce base. So I don't think that's fair to compare the two. In my head, I separate those two. But I mean, if you're saying you're from Nashville or Memphis and you're talking about get out of here. Stick with whatever you got.
And I like a dry rub. Don't get me wrong. I like a dry rub.
Me too.
I don't mind it.
You gotta separate it. It's not the same.
You have to. I just don't see the barbecue sauce and the way it's cooked. The sauce is, I think, hands down better in Kansas City than it is anywhere. No matter where you go. I've been a few places and had it, and some of it is just rough. I mean, I don't know. It's ketchup with some vinegar in it. I mean, they add a little extra vinegar and some smoked sauce. I don't, or liquid smoke, I should say, but I don't know. There's just nothing. I love Gates barbecue sauce more than anything. I have it shipped to me because I want it. When I come back to Kansas City, I get it. It's the first thing I do is I go buy a bunch of Gates barbecue sauce so I can bring it home. We actually had a Gates here once. It lasted a year. Lasted 1 year.
Wow.
And it was the great-great-grandson of Ollie Gates. And he got himself in a little bit of trouble. From what I understand,
as one does in Las Vegas.
When you live in Las Vegas, if you don't have control, then you might as well hang it up. So, apparently, from what I understood, he didn't have much control, and they took it back from him. I don't know the backstory behind it. I wish it was still here.
Yeah.
I would kill to have. I mean, I'm coming back in December, so no matter, I don't care what anybody says about Christmas dinner or anything else, I'm hitting up a Gates. Just the way it is.
That's some loyalty right there. I love
it. Yeah. But let's see. I had a question for you, and now it's kind of, we've been talking about barbecue so long, I'm starving. And when you get hungry, you kind of forget your questioning. But you live in Liberty and you work in Liberty, is that what it is?
So I live in Kansas City, Missouri, actually. It's about 20 minutes from where I work at Liberty Hospital. But
okay.
So that's where I work. That's where we have our comprehensive breast imaging center, and that's where I'm at.
Wow. Well, I lived in Liberty prior to moving here. Lived there a long time, and I loved the area at the time. I was going to ask you about one restaurant in Liberty to see if you've ever eaten there. I cannot remember the name of it. There is an Indian restaurant next to Target. What's it called?
Seva.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you love that place?
Oh yeah, that's the best Indian in town.
Well, I have to tell you, I was his first customer ever. And my
Oh
daughter,
wow.
my now she's 13, but at the time she was, I don't know, 2 years old, 2.5. And we walked in the door, and the owners, the wife and husband, stood there, and they said, well, "You're our first customers." And I said, "Well, that's great." And we absolutely loved that place, loved it. My daughter ate everything they had. This every spicy thing. They were blown out of the water that this little 2-year-old could eat all this spicy food. Well, we didn't. We never gave her baby food. She
Wow.
ate. We because it has no nutritional value. So we would actually make our own or let her eat what we ate. And now she eats everything from Thai food to she doesn't matter. She loves it all. But I was wondering. I ask people all the time if they remember this place because it's if they go there because it's so good. And I told him the owner last time I was there a couple of years ago. I said I think you would explode in Las Vegas because they have nothing. And he said, "What do you mean?" I said, "There's not one good Indian restaurant here."
Wow.
And he said, "Are you kidding me?" He said, "There?" And I said, "No." I said, "We've tried them all. Every single one of them. None of them compare to his food. I mean, none of them. Absolutely amazing." So that's why I was curious about that, just because I knew you had said Liberty Hospital, and that popped into my head really quick. Because, I mean, it became I was just hoping he didn't shut down. And
No.
one of the guys with us actually told me they did. And it scared me to death. I thought, no way, they didn't close down. There's no way they closed down.
No, they're so popular. They're going very strong.
Yeah. So when you were at when you got your all your stuff from Clark and everybody, did you get to hang out with any players? Did you get to meet anybody at the time?
I have never met a Chiefs player on the current team. So I hope at some point I will, but no, I didn't get to meet any players.
Well, I tell you what we'll do is the next time we have somebody on, we will have you scheduled to come on and you can meet a Chiefs player.
Oh, that would be amazing! I would just,
yeah.
Oh, that'd be amazing. Yeah.
we'll definitely do that because
Awesome.
it's great to have to have those connections, and we've been fortunate enough to have a lot of them on and a lot more coming on. So the next time we have somebody come on, you will definitely be part of the show.
Thank you.
For
Oh my
everything you
gosh,
do in the
that'd be
community.
amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, the fan of the year has got to have some clout in meeting a Chiefs player.
That's right.
I don't know. I mean, you think, but I'm not one of those. I mean, like touting that just to meet. It would be an honor to meet any player, past or present. But I'd be so appreciative. I'd love to meet a player.
Well, definitely. You got that for sure. That is going to be on the list, and the next time we have somebody on, you will be on the show with us. So
awesome. Thank you.
I want you to be able to meet anybody. It doesn't matter who it is. I want you to be able to meet somebody. We have JJ Burden comes on a lot. I don't know if you remember him, but he's a good friend of mine, and he comes on the show a lot. Willie Rofe has been on the show. We've had a lot of people on the show. So.
Awesome. Very cool.
And one of our guys went to Frank Clark's foundation. He has Frank Clark Foundation. He did a turkey drive, and he set it up. He went through all the work and set it up to go to see Frank and interviewed him, and it was really nice to have him on the show and talk about what he's done and what he's doing for the community. And I think it's great what you do. I want people to understand how important it is for you to go get checked. Just get it checked. You just don't know until you know. I guess I should put it that way.
Yep.
So let them know what they can do. Let people know what they can do, whether it be yearly, every 6 months, whatever they need to do, age, everything that they need to know. That way, and look, for everybody out there, the guys that are listening, this goes for you as well. So everybody has to be checked, I think, in my opinion. I've heard of men a lot. It's not of course, it's not nearly as common, but
men can get breast cancer.
Men can get it just as easily as women. So tell everybody what they need to do.
Sure. So we recommend that any woman of any color is risk assessed for breast cancer by age 30. So you can go to your local breast center and see if they risk assess women for breast cancer. And if they don't, you need to go somewhere where they do. And if once they risk assess you, if you are deemed average risk, meaning less than 20% lifetime percent risk of breast cancer, then we would recommend annual screening mammography beginning at age 40. Now, if you're deemed high risk, where you have a 20% or greater lifetime risk, we'd recommend annual breast MRI from the ages of 25 to 29. And then beginning at age 30 now, annual screening mammography alternating every 6 months with supplemental screening, either in the form of breast MRI would be our preference, as it is a more sensitive supplemental screening tool. But if you can't have MRI for some reason, then ultrasound could be an alternative. So that's what we recommend in women. In men, there's no current screening guidelines. If you are a high risk if you are a man with maybe a genetic mutation that puts you at high risk for breast cancer, there's some variability across the country in terms of how often these men are screened. It's very practice dependent. But male breast cancer, it is rare than female. In women, I said 1 in 8 will get breast cancer in their lifetime. In men, it's 1 in 800. However, if you're a man and you're feeling any sort of lump or pain or something, go ahead and get checked out. No harm, no foul. Majority of male symptoms end up being benign, but just getting checked, I think, is so important and listening to your body.
Okay, great. That's awesome. I think it's amazing what you do and how much you put into the community. And honestly, I had to brush up on you. My mind is 24/7 sports, so it's hard. When sometimes you have to go off the grid a little bit to some degree. You're a phenomenal Chiefs fan, and you deserve all the accolades for what you've done.
Thank you.
What you do in the community, I think it's amazing, and I think you deserve more than what the credit you get already. With that being said, I do want to do something really quick. This is the one. Do you like MBS?
Yes.
Okay, well, because of what you do, I am going to send you a Chiefs signed MVS ball.
What? This is crazy! Oh my gosh!
Right there. So, yeah.
Oh my god!
Yeah. For everything you do, I'm going to send you that ball.
That is incredible.
Yeah. So all you got to do is send me your address, and I will send that out to you.
Awesome! Thank you so much. I love it. I have a Chris Jones one. This is so cool.
Yeah, that's good. I have a stockpile of stuff back here, and I got signed helmets and stuff that are mine. But I've got CEH. If you like CEH, I'll send you a CEH ball.
Oh man!
Whichever one you want, you tell me, and I'll send it to you.
All right, I will.
All right, and
All right.
we'll get you set up with some stuff, so that way you have your.
Thank you.
Also, what I'll do, we are teamed up with a company, and I haven't announced this yet, but we are teamed up with a company that is making some really cool Chiefs items. One of a kind, very cool. They're similar to a bobblehead,
cool.
but they're a little different. And they just now came out with them, and we are going to be promoting that for them really quick. They're sending us a shipment of some things that we're going to also sell in our online store, but we are going to have some extras, and I will send you one of those as well.
Cool, thank you. That's awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it'll be one of the first. You'll be one of the first to get it before anybody else.
Thank you. Awesome.
We really appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you. And can I make one last plug for NFL Fan of the Year? I need people to vote.
You got to do it. Yes, please plug away, and everybody out there, please vote. I mean,
we'll tweet the link out.
All right,
Definitely.
awesome. I mean, I want to win this for the kingdom. I'm all in. I'm giving it 150% leading to the Super Bowl. You can vote until the week of the Super Bowl. You can vote as many times as you want. It looks like on the website. So please, I need all the votes I can get. I want to win this for the kingdom. We've never won yet since this campaign has started. So I want us to win this and it wouldn't just be me being the NFL Fan of the Year. It'd be the kingdom. We'd all be NFL Fans of the Year. So I really appreciate your support.
Well,
Oh,
and if the 2015-14 All-Star game says anything, the Kansas City can vote.
yeah. They know how to vote. They do know how to vote. So you definitely deserve it. I mean, there's a lot of deserving people out there, but what you do is pretty amazing, and I want you to win it. So we will definitely retweet it and continue to retweet it on our page, and we also have a couple other pages that we can retweet it on as well. So
Awesome.
we will make sure it's out there. We'll get it out on Facebook and everywhere else, so you'll be able to. Hopefully, you win. I mean, I really hope you win this.
Thank
So,
you. I appreciate it.
well, definitely. And again, make sure you send me your address, and I will send you out. If you want, you just tell me which one you want. I'll send you pictures of the ones I have, and you tell me which one you want, and I'll send it to you. So.
Awesome. Thank you. That's so generous of you. Thank you.
Oh, no problem at all. So I know I don't want to take up too much of your time because you're busy. I know you are. So we really appreciate you coming on. And oh, by the way, Buffalo now can't travel. Who would have thought that 5 foot of snow would have kept you out of the air? It's kind of a thing. I'm not going to say it, but it's kind of a thing. Kind of expected it. Little bit of a play on words there, but now they can't travel. So what are they going to do? They're probably going to flex the game.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost too convenient that they waited until the snow was falling in dreads. So I mean, it's almost, they could have left yesterday, but they didn't. They had plenty of time. They got a big enough crew to move all their stuff. So now all of a sudden they can't move. So we'll see how that works out for Buffalo. And I don't know. I mean, I think they must be a little worried because they're playing the Browns. And I wouldn't be that concerned if I was Buffalo. I don't know about you. Browns haven't had the greatest success this year. So I don't know what's going on there. But yeah, they can't travel now. They're worried about the planes and, everybody.
Yep.
So anyway, I figured I'd throw that out there. And for all you Buffalo fans out there, they're wondering why you don't have, a home game in Detroit. There's your reason. They can't travel now.
Yeah. Once again, thank you for your time, and
Yes.
thank you for the work that you do. I'm sure you've heard that a lot, but
Yeah.
I think it once again is important to
Definitely.
continue to say. So
Thank you so much.
Definitely.
make sure you vote, people.
Yes.
I'll tweet the link out.
All
And
right.
I will definitely get it out on Chiefs Focus page, and I'll put it out on a couple other pages that we have. We also are affiliated with Primetime Sports Talk. We're that's also our baby. So that's a national level site. So we'll get it out on there as well.
Great.
So you'll
Thank
be
you
everywhere.
so much.
All right. Well, thank you for joining. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All right. That was awesome to have her on.
We're done. We got
we have a couple of things. Let's talk about this Buffalo game really quick. So right now it looks like they're saying that they can't travel. What do you think?
well, they can't flex it to Monday. They play on Thursday.
What's
They
that?
play on Thanksgiving. They can't play this game on Monday.
Oh, that's true.
So I don't. That's just we're gonna have to wait and see what happens. I don't know. I don't know unless they. I don't know. It's an interesting development to say the least. So
I kind of wondered. I kept thinking to myself, how are they going to fly out on Thursday if the snow is hitting on Thursday or Friday? How are they going to do this? And it's Friday.
Unless they fly out tomorrow.
Yeah, that would be rough.
That would be rough, but that's a decision that
you
made.
Well, the thing is, though, is that all your equipment, all of your things have to be moved along with it. So you fly out on a Saturday.
I mean, you're on a time crunch, but I think that's been done before. I mean, that happened to the Chiefs a few years ago.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's possible. You're just putting yourself in a bad situation.
I don't know. I think it was almost.
But they're playing on Sunday. They can't flex that game. And they're not. The NFL's not canceling it. That's not happening.
Gosh, that's going to be.
And I think both teams have already had their bye weeks, so they can't do what they did during the COVID year and have them play during their bye week.
They cannot.
So this game's happening on Sunday.
Wow. Well, I mean, wherever it does end up happening.
Reset. The details on the Buffalo game is there's going to be 4 feet of snow. Yes, correctly. I said that correctly. 4 feet.
Oh no, it
Of
moved up. It's 5.
5
Now
feet
they're
of
saying
snow.
5.
And so they wanted to move the game out of Buffalo, New York, and move it to Detroit because Detroit has a dome, and they have to fly out to Detroit, which isn't a long flight, but it's not a drivable distance for an NFL team. Um, so they don't want to have that. They don't want to have that game in Cleveland because you want it on a neutral site, just because you don't want to give an advantage to the Browns. But that's about as details as it is. Usually they would fly out on a Friday and be there on a Sunday. So it gives you, you spend one day in a hotel and you go and play on Sunday. But the Bills play on Thanksgiving, which is on Thursday. So the NFLPA won't allow a team to play on a Monday and then turn right around and play on a Thursday. That's not safe for players. So they have to play this game on Sunday.
Somebody posed the question if they would have to forfeit. No.
Not happening.
Not
the
happening.
NFL will not let that happen.
Definitely not.
I mean, the Chiefs almost had to forfeit a game against the Patriots a few years ago because they brought the wrong jerseys.
I remember
the jerseys went to the wrong airport,
so
they had
place.
to fly. Yeah. So that was a time crunch because they almost had to forfeit that game because they didn't have the right jerseys.
Yeah, there was a lot of equipment that ended up somewhere else during that time frame.
You saw like the videos of the equipment guys running around getting everybody their stuff like down the tunnel. But that game ended up happening.
I just don't know. I mean, it's not supposed to stop. That's the thing. This is a long storm. I mean,
they'll get it. They'll probably fly out tomorrow, even if it's later in the evening. So.
God, it's going to be a rough game for them.
It's going to suck, but that's, you dig the hole yourself.
They had plenty of time. I mean, what was it? What did he say? They can't travel to PA or even New York, New England.
Well, they already said that the game was going to happen in Detroit. The NFL made that decision earlier in the week that the game was going to happen in Detroit.
Well, not only that, I think if they flew, because Detroit's a bye week, right?
Yes.
So you got to think about that. I mean, if it's
no, it's not a bye week. They just have an away game.
That's what it is, an away game. So the field is already prepared. It's as prepared as Detroit's going to be. But they don't know about whether it be New York or New England or anywhere else, just simply because it takes time to get a field prepared. And when you're a grounds crew and you know that you don't have a game this coming up week at home, you get the field ready and it stays ready. Where they can't really do that, they won't have enough time, I guess I should say, to keep.
Plus you got to think, the NFL is such a big media conglomerate. You can't just change the field last second because like the TV crews and stuff have to get ready. The media,
correct.
The Bills media and the Cleveland media, like they have to meet up at the field too. So it's not just getting teams there. That's why you can't change it like a day beforehand because you're going to cause chaos with everybody else that has to get there too.
Correct. So
they'll play this game on Sunday. It's going to suck for the equipment managers and stuff, but it's happening.
Yeah, somebody's going to feel it Monday for sure. Hell, the Bills might feel it. That is a lot of rushing around and no rest. I mean,
they're going to have to home alone it. That's definitely for sure.
That's for sure. So we'll just see how this develops moving forward. But looks like right now there's they keep upping the ante on how much snow they're going to get. So 5 foot of snow. They've had it one time 5 years ago, 5 foot of snow, or the last time I should say, and it shut that city down.
As it should.
Yeah, when you can't find your car, you can't find your dog, you can't open your front door. It's a rough ride. Probably going to take a week just to clean that mess up. Somebody posed the question as to what do they do with all that snow, and
I don't know. Are they near a river?
Well, they scoop it up. What they do most of the time is they scoop it up, they put it in dump trucks, and then they go pile it into fields.
I know, like the city of New York just dumps it in the harbor.
Yeah. And if you don't have a harbor or close to a river. Or
Yeah, if
anything
you
of
were,
that
I don't
nature.
know. I don't know enough about, but I don't care enough about Buffalo, New York. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, I think they, a lot of times they pilot in empty fields. They, I've seen them put it in parking lots and shut,
Yeah.
that maybe empty parking lots that aren't used. They do a lot of different things, but most of the time they just load it up in dump trucks with bobcats. And
On
they
the
just
other
keep
hand,
going.
too, you got to worry if it warms back up too quickly. You might have a flash flood because of all the snow melting.
Oh my God! Or if it warms up and then gets cold again, and then you got a,
And you got like two
6 inches
feet of
of ice
ice.
sitting there. Yeah. Oh God. Oh man, and that's the one thing I can say I don't have to worry about. There's a lot of things I have to worry about, but I don't have to worry about that. So, do you think this can be maybe a bad impact on the Bills?
I mean, anytime you break your schedule, I think it can affect a team. But
Oh yeah.
I don't know if this is gonna. I don't know how much it will impact. This is just something you have to wait and see. If
Well, I think
anything,
it
it'll
throws
affect the
everybody off.
Thursday game more than the Sunday game
Oh, agreed.
because
And I
then
think
you're
it throws everybody off. I mean, when you've got a regimen of the way you travel and the way you rest prior to a game. And if you're a home game, you don't have to worry about traveling. So yeah, I think it does affect the Bills to a degree. Um,
now you're facing the Browns, so I don't know how much.
hey man, look, uh, you know, there's a any given Sunday.
Yeah, the only reason I
And
care about the Browns is because Nick Chubb's on both my fantasy teams.
well, I can say that you never know if this is going to affect you in any way, but it has to affect them somehow. They were ready to play at home. They can't now. They can't travel. If it ends up being a rush to get to Detroit, get settled, play a game, I think it can affect them. So we'll just have to see. But with that being said, it was great to have Amy on and
Yeah.
everything she does. We will try to keep everybody updated on Twitter about what goes on with this whole Buffalo thing. And if we hear anything different, we will let you know. But right now, it's not looking too great for those guys. I feel sorry for everybody that has to travel or deal with that in general. A lot of work. So, with that being said, we will talk to you guys again on Sunday. Peace out, everybody. And thank you, Amy, for joining the show. Peace out, everybody.